It's no blood, no foul.
It's no blood, no foul.
It's no blood, no foul.
Crying for calls, we took your morale.
Congratulations till we run that clock out. MSG to Mecca, this is our house. NYC forever when we mob out. See that kid drip, got that clock clout.
It's no blood, no foul.
It's no blood, no foul.
It's no blood, no foul.
It's no blood, no foul. Emotions spill on the court when you proud to rep your city. New York's the hometown. Playgrounds prepare me for them hard fouls. Diving on the asphalt and driveways.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to a new season of the No Blood, No Foul podcast. Basketball is back, baby, even if it's just the preseason. I'm your host, Jim, for tonight's episode. I'm here with our executive producer, Moo, and we got Kyle on the ones and twos, our technician slash stats guy. And it feels really good to have basketball back. It's only been a couple months. Usually, the Knicks are out by April, but we got to play a little bit later into the season this year because A, because of COVID, and B, because we made the playoffs. And tonight was a really great night for basketball. The Knicks ended up crushing the Pacers, 125 to 104. The game really wasn't really that close at all. Our offense was kind of firing on all cylinders tonight. It also probably helped that the Pacers had a couple key guys out in LeVert and Warren, but Julius Randle led the way with 20 points, and he played almost 30 minutes tonight because Tom Thibodeau is a madman. R.J. Barrett was very solid, and then College Gibson. What more can you say about him? I mean, he was matched up with two 7-footers, and I would say he probably won the matchup. Mukau, tell me what you think about tonight's game.
I mean, the Knicks fans, this is what it looks like when you have a real starting point guard. I mean, it really trickled down to that. That right now, this game with Kemba, point guard, it's a whole different flow. You see Kemba really, taking on the role of a true starting point, and Fournier's, he's grabbing the rebound and he's taking the ball up, right? So what you're seeing is a Knicks team that can actually move, right? That's how they. Right, it was. I think they were up in the second quarter. It was in the 60s already. I mean, that just shows you, even though it's preseason, this offense, right, has potential. We know the defense is there, but the offense itself, it has a lot of potential. They have a lot of guys that can score. So the question is, as they advance through the season, can they play together? If they can, this team is very dangerous. I love the way the team looks. It's still early, but I love the way they're moving the ball. Defense is defense, right? Their defense is like last season. They didn't miss a beat, and they're just moving along with that. But the offense, I think, is really what was impressive for me.
Well, a couple of the really exciting things that I thought I saw tonight. It was kind of awesome watching Kemba Walker play. I think a lot of the season is going to really fall on his shoulders. I mean, his vision. There was a couple passes that he made tonight that kind of like floored me. I was really blown away because he's always been kind of known for a scoring point guard, but it just shows how much of like a lack of guard play that we've had, that he can come in, and he really only had 4 assists, but there was such his ball movement. The ball movement was so great. I mean, we had 26 assists tonight. Another, I think, huge observation that and we'll see how long this stays for. It seems like Fournier is going to be the one that takes a step back in the offense because RJ got his shots, and I think they're going to look for him. And I think RJ is a big part of what they are going to do this season. And I was a little bit worried that he might be forced into a back seat or into the fourth role, but he's going to get plenty of opportunity. And I'm excited because he's my favorite player on the team, and I want him to produce like he did tonight.
One guy that seemed to be getting phased out is Alec Burks. I mean, when he was on the floor, I don't think he actually. I don't know if his teammates didn't even bother looking at him. I mean, I think he touched the ball a few times, but he really wasn't involved. Not that, if they don't need him, great, but it's just, like you said, Jim, um, I think it's going to come down to a point where somebody's not going to get the touches that they're probably used to or expecting. So how does this team react? Would Randall be okay with just 21, 22 points? I don't know. Um, I think what you're going to see is with Tibbs, probably the guys are okay, right? So if they're winning, everybody will be fine. But if things hit a rough patch, it may be interesting to see how these guys handle not getting the ball. Somebody's not going to get it. It's just
It's going to be a big responsibility for Tibbs to keep the locker room in check. It kind of like reminds me a little bit of in 2K when you do like a fantasy draft and you end up with like some guys that are like kind of like fringe starters on your bench and they start like complaining like every like 5 games, be like, I need to get more minutes. I need to get more minutes. And you're like, no,
See,
like,
Jim,
we're
that's where you make a rookie mistake. You gotta turn that stuff off in the settings. Simple.
Yeah, right. But I like to make it as challenging. Yeah, I like drama and challenges. I'm not a pushover GM/coach. But yeah, I think I also think that IQ is going to get a lot of opportunities to be on ball. I think he's got a lot of fans in the organization. I don't know if you guys have watched like the interview that he had the other day. I think it was from training camp number 5. I mean, he's just like a workaholic. He's like really funny. He's a smart kid, and I think that the organization really likes him, and I think he's going to get a lot of opportunities. So I've kind of mentioned this before on the forum a little bit, that I wonder if going Bullock instead of Burks would have been a better idea roster construction wise. I could just foresee him ending up a little disgruntled at some point this season, especially if IQ gets a lot of more opportunities.
Right.
But that was, I mean, from summer league to now, IQ's playmaking was really good tonight. He found Sims on a few alley oops. Even if the shooting wasn't that like super great, but I think he had, how many assists did he have tonight? IQ.
Wow,
7
really?
assists. Yeah, I mean, it's something that's going to really unlock his game, and I think he's going to get a lot of opportunity on ball.
Yeah, I mean, that gives them what, 3-point guards? If IQ can continue his point guard play, that's 3-point guards. That's great. 3-point guards that are better than the starting point guard we've had for the last several years. On a team, which is definitely a plus. I mean,
also,
go ahead.
Go. Yeah. Also, like, I mean, how things were clicking in the first half, where like just kind of like ran them off the floor. It was just a beautiful thing to see. Like I feel like we only really had like one sort of offensive outburst like we did tonight last season, and that was like a game against the Bucks at the beginning of the season where we kind of upset them out of nowhere. I don't know if you guys remember that game, but like that's what it kind of that's what it kind of felt like tonight. Where it's just like we're getting dribble penetration, we're drawing fouls. I mean, I just watched a clip on Twitter now of a two-man game that Fournier and Randall played, where they were just kind of like ball screen, like playing the two-man game, and then Randall made a drive and kick out to Fournier for a corner 3, and it was beautiful basketball, and like considering how bad of an offensive team we were last year, it was a real pleasure to watch.
Well, if you want to talk about offensive output, one of the stats that I noted was that we only beat teams by 20 points or more 5 times last season. I know this preseason doesn't really count, but that's still that's a good sign, I think.
Yeah. I mean, that's when your offense is mediocre, and the Knicks offense were definitely mediocre. You're never really going to blow teams out, right? Defense can get you so much, but this team, if their offense flows, if everybody does their thing, I mean, you're going to see a lot of double-digit wins, I think, with this team. It is still early, right? First game, and the Pacers were a little bit hobbled, but you could tell the difference between the two teams. The Knicks came in, they looked like they were, just about ready to go. Pacers were kind of all over the place. So it's a very good sign again. What's interesting is we didn't really get to see a lot of the young guys, right? It's surprising. Well, Sims played because Noel was
Hang on,
out,
Moo. How
right?
is that surprising? I knew that was gonna happen.
I think, yeah. Well, no, you're right. I think surprising from a fan and forum standpoint, right? We had a lot of guys saying that, they're going to be really excited to see Deuce go and Grimes go, and
He looked horrible. He looked horrible too.
he
Like the
did,
5
yeah.
minutes Deuce was out there,
Well,
you
they
never
all
get
did.
tell.
Even Sims, right? He had that
Yeah.
that deer in the headlights look, even with the dunks, a couple of dunks. But
I don't know, I felt like Sims looks like he could hang. I was pleasantly surprised considering he was one of the last picks of the second round.
mm,
I mean he's not really like a good defender by any means, but um like he sets good screens. He offers vertical spacing. I thought he rotated okay. He had a few boneheaded plays, but I mean
yeah,
I think he might
yeah,
be a rotation player. I think he might be somebody to come off your bench. Maybe it's like we're freaking out over a preseason game, but I thought he looked solid.
See, the thing about Sims is that, and he is great for a what was he like fifth last pick in the draft.
yep,
Um,
Yeah.
the thing about him is that he is athletic as hell. He does set really solid screens. He has a great touch around the rim for
mhm,
especially a late second round pick. But
In his free throws too, or at least he did
yeah,
today.
he has absolutely no defensive awareness, and that was something I noticed even back in
yeah.
summer league. He just doesn't have it, and I don't know how much you can coach that. But the good thing is he is just a late second round pick, so he's still overperforming expectations.
True.
Yeah, like honestly, if you grab someone that could potentially be a rotation player or even like an end of the bench guy at the end of the second round, that's like a huge steal. And I mean, he looks like he can play. Um, I feel like we got to talk about Obi a little bit too. Um, there was a big discussion in the pregame about how like Obi was horrible and it did not show more than Knox and Frank did. And I thought that was, I mean, I feel like he really showed us again tonight that like he's absolutely in a different league than those guys, and he looks like he could be a contributor, or at least he deserves a spot in the rotation. Moo, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the guys are talking on the board, right? They're saying that, what makes Obi a better player or potentially a better player than Frank or Knox. I mean, it's just you just have to watch the game. I know Rob said, kept throwing out metrics and, whatever, but you just have to watch it. And I'm not a big fan of Obi to begin with. I didn't really want him. I didn't think he was all that great heading into the draft. But you could tell the way he plays when he's up, when he's clicking, he's a much better player than either Frank or Knox. Just much better. The question is, can he consistently do that? And last year was up and down. It was really down early, but then he started picking up late in the season. So if he can carry it through, I think he'll get minutes. Maybe, I don't know. Tibbs did play the starters for 3 quarters. But so who knows? But I think Obi will get minutes. I expect somebody to get injured.
Yeah, there's no way that everyone's going to
Right,
play all year. I mean, it'd be great if
right,
they did, but
right.
I mean, he scored 10 points in 14 minutes today. You could see that he has a very dynamic game. Um, that first drive where he went coast to coast
Sure.
was like pretty ridiculous. He had a nice mid range pull up jumper. I mean, he's got talent and he goes and grabs rebounds. I mean, I like the kid a lot more than I did last year. Like I said, I
Oh,
feel
I
like he
hated
looks
him
like
last year.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, he was brutal from I
early.
would say January, February, March, and then like
Right.
April, May. In April and May, all of a sudden he started to like show some signs of life and look like a player. But like that was the one thing that I think gave me a lot of confidence last year is that like he was supposed to be horrendous defensively, and he ended up being like just bad. And like I know that seems
Uh,
like I know
yeah.
that seems like a silly thing to like find a line of a silver line in the gray cloud,
Hmm.
but I did. I was just like like this seems to be supposedly his weakest part of the game, and he seems to rotate okay. He seems to match up with his guys all right. I mean tonight, oh god, I think the Yankees. Oh nope, not a home run. I thought the Red Sox hit another home run, but
Yeah.
Not
we'll
the
bring that
Yankee
up.
game is not, yeah, the Yankee game is not that great to be watching, but yeah, it's just seeing when he's apparently like a high hip like or a guy that can't really move laterally, and he seems to be moving laterally okay. Against them, I was just like, oh, so maybe he's not as bad as advertised. And yeah, and it seemed to be right because he seems like he can hang, and like even today, I think he had some solid rim protection
Mhm.
opportunities by coming sliding in weak side and making the right rotation. Who knows? Maybe Randall's not long for here if Obi can consistently
Yeah, I
be
don't know
as
about
good as he
that.
was
Yeah.
tonight.
I mean, I think on the Knicks with Tibbs and his defense, you just need to be adequate. You don't have to be really good. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sure Tibbs would love everybody to be great, but the way that he coaches defense, you just have to know enough to get to your spots, not embarrass yourself. You know, just do enough so that you don't create a hole. Right? Early on, when I think the comparison when Sims, he was just awful, and Tibbs chewed him out. Right, so
yeah.
that was kind of what Obi was last season. But I think all he needs to do is to focus. Right, he knows what the defensive plays are. It's a year. He's a year into this. He just has to be adequate, and I think adequate is what his ceiling is defensively. He's just physically, not built as a great defender. To defend, you also have a mentality. It's not something that you can learn. I don't think to be a great defender. You have to just that it's either in you or not. And I don't think he has it, but it doesn't really matter. Offensively, I think he has skills. He can contribute. And defensively, he just needs to be average
But he
or even
just,
a
I
little
mean,
bit.
he has a crazy high motor, which I think is what helps.
Right.
So
Right.
he
He
may
makes
not
up for it.
necessarily right. So he may not necessarily make the right rotations all the time, or not the best laterally,
Mhm.
but he's gonna like go after the ball,
Well, he needs to
which
spend time with Taj. Because Taj is like the prototype of a guy that isn't explosive, but he knows exactly where to go,
yeah.
what to do defensively.
Which is why my love affair of Taj Gibson
Yeah,
continues.
he's my
Um,
favorite player on the team
yeah,
right now.
Yeah,
I
Taj
mean,
Gibson is unironically my favorite player right now.
Yep.
yeah, I mean, he's great. Although I think Kemba is coming from my heart because tonight I was just like really floored with having someone that was as dynamic as him as a point guard because like with the exception of Rose from last year, it's been years. I mean, Fat Raymond Felton, 2 weeks of Jeremy Lin. I mean, it was a pleasure to see. He like we really need him to stay upright because I mean, like he just like went around a screen and hit a three, and I
Right.
was like, I can't tell you the last time I've seen one of our point guards do that. And it
Yeah.
was the thing. It was. I mean, even Rose. That's not really part of Rose's game.
Not
Like
anymore.
the
Right.
yeah. Oh God. I saw some of the happy birthday videos of Rose, and you like forget about how like absolutely ridiculously
Yeah.
violent he was on the drive back in 2011, 2012.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just
Yeah. It was, but you had a feeling that that wasn't something that could be sustained, right? Because it was just too quick, too strong, too much starting and stopping, and he was getting hammered. And it turned
it
out. I
just
think, yeah,
it's just the I mean the way he would slash and
yeah,
like
and
euro
stop
to the
and
rim
yeah,
and like he would like do a euro and then spin to
yeah,
like into a layup and I'm just like how do your it's like no wonder you don't have any joints in your ligaments in your knees anymore like there's no way your body should be able to move like that but he still has some sort of elements to that and I think that's another thing that Kemba's like kind of shifty and creative too not to the same extent but yeah, it's oh man, I really like seeing it. I really like seeing that. And we had 26 assists tonight, which and not all of them came from Randall because we have people that actually want to play and pass the ball. Um, who else can we talk about? Who
Rowan
else,
J. Barrett.
can we talk about RJ?
No, we haven't. We could.
Well, in exciting news, he shot 50% from the on his 2 point shots and 50% from his 3 point shots, which I think is pretty damn good. He was second on the team in plus 20, which is also pretty good. Moo, what are your thoughts of RJ, and what did you like seeing from him?
Yeah, I mean, I think he got blocked a couple of times but whatever.
Turner
Who
or
actually looked
Goga?
pretty good. Yeah.
He
But
he looked thin.
he looked thin, right? And he
Yeah,
moved well. And what's good is that it wasn't ugly, right? It wasn't an ugly block. He moved pretty quickly. He went for the layup. He just got blocked. It wasn't the ugly blocks he was getting last season, where he would,
yeah,
force a drive and then just, all over the place and stuffed. So it's good. He hit a couple of mid rangers, which is important, right? Because he can't just be a 3-point shooter.
that's the next step. That's
Right.
the next
That's
step.
right.
The pull up mid range.
Right. Right. Knicks don't. They need him more to be more than a 3-point shooter. His draft position, he needs to be a more than just a 3-point shooter. So I think it's good that he showed a mid range. He was quicker, I think, on his drives.
Hmm.
Again, even if he was blocked, it really doesn't matter. I think what'll help him is that he doesn't have to handle the ball as much. He's just not a great ball handler. I mean, it's just right putting the ball on the ground, on the floor, and driving from a distance. He's better off getting the ball closer. When the team is moving, he sees an opening, he'll just go for it. I saw that today with Fournier, with Walker. I think he'll get a lot more of those because you can't just. Last year it was you knew what the Knicks were gonna do, right? It's Randall 1, Barrett 2, right? When Rose wasn't on the floor, and Rose wasn't on the floor a lot. This year you can't, right? Right, the ball's moving a lot, but I don't think Randall actually ever assumed the position of being kind of the primary ball handler or point guard.
I really
This-
only noticed him getting like one or two post
right,
ups. I'm sure he had more than that,
right.
but it's like I was like cooking dinner and on my bike riding home listening to the game. So I didn't get to like pay like 100%
Right.
attention.
Right.
But yeah, I've only really remember like one or two post ups,
Which
and
is
that
which
was
is
like
but
it's
that's good.
good.
You don't want it. He shouldn't be the primary point guard. He should be your number one option or number 1A or 1B, whatever. Right. And let him, do his thing offensively. If he can pass, great. But you've got other guys now that can actually move the offense, which, I think should make things a lot easier for Randall. Especially come playoff time.
Oh,
Right.
what are your thoughts on Mr. RJ Barrett?
I think he's good.
Think he's good?
Yeah, like like you guys said, it's really encouraging to see him do more of the mid range, get some of that, and
Right.
get some of that out there. I like how he was making threes from all over the court, not just the corners.
Corner. Right.
You
Yep.
know, I think he's still getting a bit lost on defense sometimes. He needs to step that up, but he made a lot of really good passes too. I think he's gonna. I don't know how much better he's gonna be statistically than last year, but he's definitely. I would see it as a good sign if he stays pretty much the same and just contributes to winning.
A little bit more efficient, less turnovers.
Yeah,
Yeah, I definitely.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
I found it. I thought it was very interesting that he was still second in the pecking order tonight. I wonder how long that's going to last, because like even last year, like he was the number two option for most of the season. I really felt like maybe by like maybe end of April, early May, Rose definitely like kind of like solidified that he kind of like took that away from RJ, and I wonder if we'll see that again, or if he's going to be able to hold on to onto that slot in the offense. 'Cause I mean, he's very important to the team's future, and I like I need him to be good, and I think he's going to be good. I think tonight, because there was a packed arena, the fact that he was hitting threes all over the place and all these jump shots, I'm a little less worried than I was last year that his jumper was fake. Like the empty arena thing kind of like scared me a lot, and like tonight too, Randall kind of like relieved that too, because like Randall hit a bunch of mid-range jumpers. He hit a couple threes. He looked really good, and it was probably the most quiet 20 points I've ever seen him have here. Where like it seemed like he did a lot of work to get those buckets. Not so much tonight. Not so much tonight, and that's probably going to be a good sign, because like definitely last year he kind of hit the wall a little bit. Like after the All-Star break, he was not as good as he was at the pre-All-Star break. I might not be wrong. I might be wrong about that statistically, but I feel like I felt that.
No, I mean,
By,
with the eye test, he was right. He playing the most minutes in the NBA. Um, being by far the most relied upon player of any team, I think. Even with his great conditioning, he's a great, he's a guy that keeps himself in great condition. At some point, you knew he was going to run out of gas. For the Knicks, it just seemed like he ran out right at the worst time. But I think this as far as Barrett being number 2, I don't know. I think if Kemba can return to 80%, 85% of Kemba, he'll be the number 1 or 2 option. And you just have to, right? Because we saw in the playoffs, you need someone that can move the ball, that can also score. And that's Walker.
It's all about like where you isolate. I think that's where we ran into the same problem with Carmelo as well. I think if you isolate in that mid to high post area, it just invites double teams, and it's way tougher to do that at the top of the key. And that's what having a Kemba Walker Rose was pretty elite for us in that series against Atlanta. He was probably the only guy outside of Taj Gibson that had good games out of everybody.
For the first 2.5 games.
Yeah, you just see like when you can attack. I mean, look at Trae Young. It's like how do you can't really double him because of where he attacks on the floor, and I think Kemba is going to give you that because of where he plays.
The only way you can handle Trae Young is to force him to play defense by taking it at him, right? So if you just let him, right? Because who did the Knicks have? Knicks have Elfrid Payton, right? He was Trae Young's defensive assignment for first quarter and a half. That's just basically saying, Trae, take the defense off, get ready for offense, and that's what he did.
Well, see, actually, what the Hawks were doing was they were having Trae on Reggie Bullock, so that's an even easier assignment because you don't have to guard anything off the dribble for him.
Right,
you can't do anything with the ball in his hands.
Now you can't do it because with Fournier can actually put the ball on the floor, so they can't try that. Right, so now Trae's going to have to guard someone. He can't guard Barrett, right? So I think that forces him back on Walker, right, on the point guard. And if Walker is 85-90%, he's a handle. He's a load to handle defensively.
I mean, he was really good tonight. I mean, he was 5 of 10. He hit some threes, had 4 assists. And I know I mentioned this before, but I mean, he has much better vision than I kind of expected him to have.
Yeah,
I mean, he had a couple good passes to Sims. He had a couple good passes to Taj. That I was just kind of like, whoa, like how did he see him there? And I can't get enough of having dynamic guards on the offensive end.
That could just be because we're used to Peyton doing absolutely nothing, right? And
just driving into the lane for a floater that's not going to go in.
That anything that's kind of real point guardish, we think it's a great thing.
I mean, even Rose had like a drive where he threw the ball back over his shoulder to find Burks in the corner for a 3, and I was just like, wow, it's like we have 2 guys that are actually halfway decent at passing, and I mean, I feel like Rose and Kemba were never great playmakers by any means, but just not being what Elfrid Payton was last year is going to be such an upgrade.
Yeah. Seems looking good.
Yeah. I mean, what else is there really to say? Any final thoughts, Kyle?
Don't Google Evan Fournier's last name.
All right. Yeah, we won't do that.
Oh, no, I'm gonna have to.
You don't want to. I told you not to.
I can't help it. Yeah, I mean, I think for me, what's interesting is the Knicks roster is at 20. I think still. They can carry 15 plus 1 2-way. Is that how it goes?
I believe so. No, I think it's two ways.
Two ways and 15.
Yeah.
So
I'm surprised Dwayne Bacon didn't play tonight. I'm surprised that Sims was the other guy that got off the bench. It's probably not super important, but
we'll see. I like Bacon. I've always liked Bacon.
Man, I love bacon. My favorite breakfast food.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And lunch food.
No, I think Bacon. No, I'm gonna not be able to look at it the same way whenever he plays.
He had Clyde had a nice little bacon pun in the second quarter today. That's why I was like, oh, I guess he made it to the floor. And then I've been looking at the the box score, and I was like, oh no, coach's decision, DNP.
I don't know how much Bacon is going to play though, right? He's more of an offensive player. And just looking
Yeah.
at this team tonight, I think they've got offense fine, especially at the wing and the guard, right? The big guard. So I don't know if he's the one that gets cut, but they liked him enough to sign him. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm wondering because like I don't know if you guys watched one of the Tibbs interviews from the other day, but he had like he had like 30-second rant about how much he loved Wayne Selden, and it made me kind of wonder if he might have the leg up on that last roster spot.
Possibly. I think Selden's a better
that
defender.
makes me wonder if he has compromising photos or something.
Of Tibbs?
Yeah.
He probably has photos from Tibbs a few years ago when he was thinner. Like, I remember what you look like, Tom Thibodeau.
I mean, if you look at this team, I think the one type of player they could use is a long athletic defensive wing.
A
that can run
long
the floor a little bit.
athletic defensive wing, you say?
Yeah.
Like someone that was just signed away to the Mavericks. All right, I'm not, all right. I thought you guys might laugh.
No.
Our boy
They
Frankie.
re-signed. They re-signed Porzingis a couple years ago.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, a very long defensive wing, that Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I feel like we kind of touched on everything already today.
See, Jim. The reason that didn't work is because Moose said athletic.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
I made sure I put that in there because.
Yeah, I mean, I could see Wayne Selden having a leg up on that because you're right. Bacon is a scorer, an inefficient scorer at that, and it seems that we have plenty of guys that can put the ball in the hoop.
Right. So
And yeah, I mean, I hope to see more McBride and Grimes as things go along, but they didn't look too great tonight like they did in summer league. It seemed a little rough. I mean, I think Grimes airballed 2 threes. Was that what happened?
I'm just gonna say, 4 minutes is never enough time to evaluate anyone. Never.
Oh, I mean, you're right. But you could tell that they looked like a little hyped and had a little jitters. I mean,
I'm also gonna say I have been saying for the longest time that pretty much what we saw tonight is going to be on rotation. I think they would benefit much more from being sent down to the G League for this year than just sitting on the bench and doing nothing. Like how I'm a really big fan of letting Jokubaitis stay over in Europe for at least another year.
Yeah, absolutely. He's I don't know if you guys seen any of the highlights that have been coming out of Spain, but he's had some pretty solid games as well. He can only go left too, like RJ, but he had like 20 points in like 18 minutes the other night, 22 points, I think.
Yeah, he's been pretty good, and
yeah,
I think him going out there every night against one of the better basketball leagues that is in the NBA is a lot better for his development than if we brought him here to just sit on the bench. And as a bonus, that's an extra year we have for his rookie contract.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'm very curious to see if Burks actually plays his full contract here, because Jokubaitis would be a person that could easily slide into that 3 spot off the bench. I mean, Grimes as well. Grimes could eventually slide into that spot for the cheap because I mean, pick in the 20s has only got to be like less than $2 million. Could save like $10 million or $8 million a year on that eventually.
I mean, I think there'll be teams that'll be interested in Burks, so it's a good, his contract is solid.
Yeah.
So I think if they have to, they can move him. Right? Most of the guys on the roster they have.
Right, like it's weird to me because I think Burks is one of those guys who like the narrative around him is superseding how well he did. Because if you look, he really didn't play any better than he did the year before we signed him, and he couldn't get anything but a 1-year deal from that. Now he's got a 2-year $20 million plus a team option. Like he really didn't play any better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I don't really see why he got that big of a raise. I mean, I get we want to keep him for continuity, but I don't really think his on court play was worth what we gave him if we got him doing the same thing for $5 million the year before, if that makes sense.
He signed him before Walker was available, right? I think.
Yeah.
I think if Walker was available, maybe that they would have rethought it. So.
Yeah, I mean, well, one of the guys in the forum said that we were like keeping tabs on Kemba like pretty much all off season, so it was like only a matter of time. It felt like, but yeah, we did grab him.
Yeah, the only thing was if they didn't buy him out, right? They decided just to keep him.
I am so happy that Leon Rose is the type of dude that'll just say, "Yeah, buy him out. We'll just not trade for him," because past regimes would have traded a first-round pick for him.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that was what I was so afraid of when I first saw the guy in the forum post that. I was just like, oh god. I was like, he's on a max contract. He's like kind of washed, but then I found out he really wasn't washed. That he's just been banged up. I'm like, this is just like a typical Knicks move.
He's not washed. He's just been lightly rinsed.
Yeah.
Tumble driveway.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm glad too because Josh Giddey was pretty great last night. He was one of the guys that I liked coming out of the draft. I didn't like him as a lottery pick, but he really shut me up. He was pretty
We know who I liked.
What were you?
Were you passed up on? I went to the Hawks.
Oh yeah. Jalen Johnson. Yeah. I didn't see how they played last night. I didn't see how he did.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we probably should talk about Duarte for a second before we go.
Oh, Duarte looked great.
I would be. I'd be really excited.
He was
about
so Knicks. He looked like a perfect Knick player.
He did.
Yeah.
And you know what? It also kind of like I was kind of just like, wow, like why would we want to trade up for this 3-and-D guy? And it kind of like made me feel better about the front office again. Like they keep doing these things that keep reassuring me, and one of these things is like, oh, he looks like a damn good player and someone that could definitely have more responsibility than he did in college because he can definitely create for himself.
Yeah, and he's just not a guy that shoots threes or whatever. He defends really well. He's smart. He's aggressive. He's athletic enough.
Yeah. He's 24.
He's 24.
Yeah.
How old is Obi? Is that
he's a year older than Obi.
Okay.
Oh God.
For reference. And I called Obi old.
And yeah, and Trey Murphy had a pretty good game last night as well. So it just seems like we were like going after guys that ended up looking pretty well or have done pretty well in either summer league and or in their first preseason game. So I mean, it seems like we've gotten better scouts, which we have. Walt Perrin, that kid Alex Klein. Just really just impressive stuff from Rose. It makes me feel confident that he's put the right people in place. Just by silly things like we were interested in scouting rookies that ended up being good and going higher in the draft than they were originally expected to.
Yeah, no more Kevin Knox and.
Yeah, no more Kevin Knox. Although he showed some pulse today in the last 5 minutes. I was a little upset that I heard that he was getting off the bench before Grimes, but what are you gonna do?
You could write a strongly worded letter.
I will. Although I don't know
dear Thomas Thibodeau.
Although I don't know if I could even handwrite a whole letter now because of my handwriting my hand would probably cramp up with the fact that I haven't handwritten anything other than my own signature in years now.
Oh yeah, me too. My handwriting is awful.
But I feel like that's a subject for another time.
Yeah.
So first preseason game is in the books. Knicks are victorious, and I think Tom Thibodeau is going for the preseason championship. So I'm sure we're going to see 30 minutes from a lot of the starters. But the Knicks won 125-104, beating up an injured Pacers team. This has been. I hope you guys like what you heard. We're going to be back doing post games like we did all of last year. And hopefully Slice and Coke will be back. Slice was all hyped to do this game. And then he found out that his internet wasn't working and it's not going to be installed for 2 days. So that's why he's not here. And this has been another episode of the No Blood, No Foul podcast. We'll see you Saturday night.
Cloud clout.